Well, happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the Note Show. I'm Greg Dixon, Shared Visions Unlimited, total traffic and conversion. Depends on the day. Anyway, so I'm here with Brad Warren in California, and he's going to talk to us about land banking. And maybe you can just introduce yourself a bit, and then you have a presentation for us.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. As Greg said, my name is Brad Warren. I'm a land banking specialist and former career as a business coach, seminar leader, and trainer. Used to travel all around the world teaching seminars and doing business coaching for about 40 years. And for the last 6 years, I've been selling dirt. I sell dirt to investors. That's what I do.
And do you want to jump into your presentation here to explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, let's go. Let's just dive in because I love dishing dirt. I love talking dirt. So,
Okay.
hi, everybody. So, those of you that are actually watching or looking at the recording later on, you can see that there's my background. Graduated from MIT, UC Berkeley. I have a master's in education and a BS in philosophy and psychology. And that I guess it is BS, philosophy and psychology. I'm a trained mediator and negotiator, and I work for several companies teaching seminars, little over 40 years. And then at age 67, which was back in 2018, I was 67, I switched careers, got my real estate license, and went to work with my business partner, Marcella. And now I sell dirt. And this is just a very brief snapshot of our company. The name has actually been changed. It's no longer Valor Enterprises. It's actually Valor Real Estate Services. And we've been in business over 45 years, 22,000 plus investors. And we provide the highest degree in standard of care. When we sell land, you get the deed. We offer some after sale services and things like that, but an excellent company that I totally enjoy working for. In fact, the top producers go on an annual trip in the summer. And in July, I'll be on a river cruise with my wife called Gems of Southeast Europe. And it'll be from Budapest to Bucharest or the other way around. I'm not sure which way the boat goes. Yeah, but fabulous company. And so people always ask me, well, how did you get into land? How did you get into buying land as an investment? So how many of you have ever reached a fork in the road, a time in your life where you had to choose one path over another? I've had several in my 73 years on this planet, but those are called inflection points. In the dictionary definition of inflection is a time of significant change in a situation or a turning point. And one of probably hundreds, if not thousands, that I've had in my life occurred on December 31st, 2011, when I realized I didn't have enough money saved up to retire. I do a quarterly net worth statement since getting engaged to my wife. Been doing it since March of 1989, every quarter. And that quarter, I looked at the numbers, Greg, and I was very depressed because what it told me was by herself, my wife could retire with her money. Together, we could barely get by with her money and my money combined. But if I was a single individual at that time and needed to retire, it wasn't going to happen. So I called Marcella. That's her name, Marcella Silva with Valor. And I said, come over to the house, bring your laptop, do your presentation on land banking for Marie and I, my wife, and we'll look at this as a possible investment. So she comes over, she presents. Marie, my wife, gets up at the end and says, no, thank you. I like my mutual funds. I like my 401k. Slow and steady wins the race. I don't want to invest in dirt. And so thank you very much. And she walked out. And I said, Marcella, get me a property. So that was January of 2012. 2 months later, I closed on my first. A year later, my second. A year later, my third. And then Marie gets involved and she buys two herself in 2015 because now she understood what I was up to and what I was doing. And the light bulb went off and she said, now I understand. Since 2015, we've bought 6 more. So that's a total of 11, almost 39 acres, or what we like to do is talk in square feet. So 1.7 million square feet of developable land situated in the path of growth. And it's about a quarter of our investment portfolio. So I never ask anybody to put all of their money into one form of investment. I'm sure you talk about that on your show all the time. Diversification. You want to have crypto, and you want to have single family residences, and you want to have stocks and bonds and mutual funds and you name it, just everything. And of course, land. All right. So inflection point number 2, and I'll only talk about these 2. January 31st, it was a Wednesday. I remember like it was yesterday, 2018. So a little over 6 years ago. I come home from a real estate meeting. I see my wife sitting at the kitchen table, which is a little unusual. She worked for Oracle at the time, and she's usually slaving away over her computer back in her office. Well, she's got this funny look on her face, and she says, sit down, and I know something's up. She says, Brad, I've been dismissed from Oracle. I said, what do you mean dismissed? You were fired? No. Laid off? No. Downsized, right size, canned, sacked, shown the door? She said, no, Oracle made up this new category called dismissed, which helped Oracle not pay unemployment benefits. So my wife is now fired from a 6-figure job, steady paycheck, health insurance, matching 401k, and more. She's now done working, and she's not getting another job. That's the news I come home to. So I said, all right, we're having dinner with Rick and Marcella. Rick is Marcella's husband. We scheduled it 2 weeks earlier. We get there. We tell them our story, our woeful story, and they start laughing at us, Greg. Can you believe that? I mean, my wife just got fired, and they're laughing. I said, what the F are you laughing about? They said, Brad, you're not going to believe this. 2 weeks ago, we scheduled tonight's dinner. 1 week ago, Valor lifted the moratorium on hiring new real estate agents. We know you have your real estate license. We're inviting you to join our team, leave your coaching career, join our team, and be the first agent on our team that we're building. Oh my goodness. One door shuts, another door opens, but I didn't say yes. 2.5 hours later, I'm grilling them over dinner. Well, what's it going to be like? And are there benefits? And how do I find clients? And all this. We're driving home, and my wife is sitting next to me, obviously in the passenger seat, Greg. And she goes, Brad, I don't understand. This is an incredible opportunity. You love talking about dirt. We own 11 properties. We've got skin in the game. It's very valid, proof that it works. And I don't get it. I said, Marie, they're asking me to leave a 40-year career doing the only thing I've ever done my entire pretty much adult life is training and speaking and being a real estate business coach. She leans over, gets right up to my ear, Greg, and this is a direct quote. He says, Brad, you'd be an idiot not to accept this offer, and I did not marry an idiot. And everybody that I tell this story to chuckles, laughs out loud. Greg, I was laughing so hard in the car. I literally almost drove off the road, and I almost peed in my pants because I was hysterical. I said, you did not marry an idiot. Okay, you're right. And I said, I will take the job, or the career, actually. It's not really a job. And so the next morning, February 1st, called Marcella. I said, I'm in, I'll move my license. And I believe it was 8 days later on February 9th, 2018, I was now working for Valor. And here's the proof. That's obviously, I now have a ponytail. This is what I call my COVID hair. It's been growing since December of 2019. December of 2019, got my last haircut. So it's been a while. And there's my land banking consultant photo and cell phone and all that. And it says invest in land because they're not making any more of it. All right. So that's the backstory. So let's get down to land and let's talk about dirt. This is a Google Earth photo taken in 1993 of San Ramon, California. In fact, Rick and Marcella live in San Ramon, probably up towards the top of this picture. And to the right is where they live. But you can see it's mostly dirt. There's a few houses. The yellow, by the way, can you see my cursor? Can the viewers see the cursor moving around on the screen or not?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So the bottom yellow line is superimposed by Google to show where a new road is going to go, but it didn't even exist. It wasn't even paved in 1993. Let's fast forward. Same shot. The yellow roads are now paved and in there, and look at all the houses. By the way, those are $1.5 to $2 million homes. In this photo, the land is about 5,000 an acre. In this, you're talking $500,000 to $1 million an acre, and it's not even available anymore. This is 2009. So all of that land is used up. Let's do it one more time. This is Dublin, California. This is 20 minutes from my house. That road at the bottom is Highway 580. Those of you familiar with the Bay Area know that on the left side is it goes to Hayward and Oakland, and towards the right side it goes up into to Sacramento. If you or 580 will take you into the Central Valley. That's 1993. That's 2012. $5,000 an acre here, $1 million an acre here. So the whole concept of land banking is buy land, and here's the most critical part, Greg, in the path of growth. Don't buy land that's not in the path of growth, or it will always remain empty land. It'll just be dirt. It must be in the path of growth. Wait, hold that land until the developer knocks on your door and says, "Hi, Mr. Warren, we see you own 2 acres of land located at such and such an address. You paid X. We'll give you X plus $10,000. It's a great deal because that land's not doing anything." And I just go, ha, 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 ha. Call me back with a better offer. And I hang up the phone. And if you wait long enough, eventually the developer who needs that land to build those houses or the shopping center or the movie theater or the solar farm or whatever, they're going to pay you a premium price. We like our investors to exit between 3 and 7x. 3 to 7 times what they invested is what they should expect upon the exit. All right. Now, you say, well, Brad, how do I know if land is in the path of growth? Great question. Here's the answer. We use what are called the 10 key indicators, or the 10 growth factors in the area where we invest. And for those of you that can actually see the screen, and behind me, you see this map. It's a map of California, and there's a white circle. That white circle is a 60-mile radius around downtown LA. That's where we invest. We don't invest in Nevada. We don't invest in Texas, Florida. No. California, 60-mile radius around downtown LA. That's it. And this is why all of the land that we find in that area meets these 10 growth factors. There's usable land. There's adequate water. There's a master plan and infrastructure. Follow the money. Quick example. Lancaster and Palmdale, 2 of the cities where we invest. City Council several years ago invested $118 million of city money into widening the off-ramps off of Highway 14. Now you got to ask yourself, why would the city widen the off-ramps at their own expense unless they knew something was happening at those exits? You kind of got to ask yourself. So we started researching the land, started buying up land at those exits. Our investors now own some of it. And guess what? They're going to make a lot of money when they start building the gas station and the mini mart and the shopping center on those exits, because the city council knew that was coming. We go to city council meetings. We read general plans that are revised, sometimes 5 every 10 years. We read them cover to cover, word for word, to see where is the development going. You want to follow the money. You also have to have a pro-city government. Number 10, we love that. You don't want a city that's, NIMBY, not in my backyard, where everybody rises up and says, no, can't build, no more housing. We don't want anybody else moving to this community. We're happy with the people that are here. No, you want a pro-active city government that is pro-business. And one example, the city of Lancaster, Mayor Rex Paris, he flew on his own dime, flew to China several times to court a company called, I don't understand the valuation of vacant. Well, Rodney, great question. We'll get to that later. He flew to China several times on his own money to court a company called BYD, in English, Build Your Dreams. And Warren Buffett's he has several billion dollars in the company. And he got that, they're an electric car manufacturer. And he got them to come to Lancaster, California, and build their only North American electric bus manufacturing facility. That bus manufacturing facility, when I went down to look at it the first time, was a tiny little building, and it had about 90 employees. It currently has grown about 5 times in size, has 1,000 employees, and they've just announced that BYD has bought a 160-acre plot of land to build a second electric bus manufacturing facility in Lancaster because they have so many orders, they can't fulfill them now. Every city in the country is starting to go to electric buses. And in some states is even mandated. LA County mandated that they have an electric bus fleet. So BYD is building this second facility. So you want to have a pro-business city government, you want to have job creation, you want to have population expansion. All that's going on in the areas where we invest. Why do people invest? Several reasons: financial independence, retirement, vacations, just to ride around on a motor scooter, give money to their grandkids, get out of the stock market, get out of crypto, or stay in crypto, stay in the stock market. If you're doing well, that's great, fantastic, but diversify. So lots of different reasons. Here's an article, and for those of you, it's a little hard to read, but this article came out in 2011. All right, so that's what, 13 years ago. And they said back then, $1 million isn't enough to retire. I queried some of my CPA friends within the last year, and I said, how much does somebody need today in 2024? How much does somebody need today if they were going to retire at age 65 and live about 30 years? Okay, we're living longer. Hopefully, all of us are. How much would they need? They said between 3 and 4 million. $3 to $4 million in the bank or in an investment fund or a retirement fund, an IRA or whatever, earning money. It would have to keep earning money because you're going to withdraw, so you got to replace it a little bit. $3 to $4 million in order to retire in a comfortable lifestyle. And again, in California, that number may be higher because the cost of living here is so high. All right. A couple of quick examples. That is the 405 freeway during rush hour in the middle of Los Angeles. And I believe it's 10 lanes on either side, 20 lanes of traffic, bumper to bumper for hours. When I look at that slide, I get really happy because a lot of those people are moving out of LA into Lancaster and Palmdale. Because in LA, if you want to buy like a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house, maybe even just a 2-bedroom house, you're talking $3 million, $3.5 million. You can get a brand new home in Lancaster, solar on the roof, gated community, pool, gym, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for about $450,000. And because of COVID and the move to, nobody commutes anymore. Everybody's working at home. Not everybody, but a lot of people. I work at home, you work at home, or in your van or wherever you happen to be, Greg. So many people can now work remotely. A lot of people are leaving their jobs. Well, not leaving their jobs. They're leaving their place of employment, not having to go into work. They live in Lancaster. They telecommute. And if they have to go in for a lunch meeting, they wait until the freeway is empty. And from Lancaster to downtown LA, you can do it in 45 to 60 minutes when there's no traffic. So they leave at 11. They get to their lunch meeting at 12. They stay for 2 hours till 2, and they're home by 3. And they take a dip in the pool, and then they go in and work a little bit. So things are shifting and changing. So we love population growth in that area. Marijuana. Now you may say, well, Brad, you're a hippie. That's why you put that slide in there. No. Well, yeah, I am a hippie. But the reason I brought this up, Greg, is, as you know, or maybe you don't know, but in California, I believe it was Proposition, oh gosh, I always forget, Proposition 1 or 61. I forget which proposition it is. But it allows the recreational use of marijuana in the state of California. Okay, now everybody can buy pot and smoke and get high. Well, who's growing the pot? The marijuana growers, but they don't grow them outside. They grow them inside of a grow facility. Notice, by the way, what do you see? No people. There's very few employees. These grow facilities are on automatic timers for the lights, the water, the humidity. Everything is done. The only employees that these companies hire are the guards with the AK-47s and the German Shepherds that walk around the outside to make sure nobody breaks in and steals the marijuana. Okay, these are state-of-the-art facilities. And as you can see, they're huge. They need acres of land. Guess what? They also can only build these in the industrial zone because most cities don't want these built next to a hospital or a school or a place of worship. So they build them in the industrial area. And guess what? We sell land to our investors in those industrial areas. They wait until the marijuana grower knocks on their door, and the exit strategy is sell your land to the marijuana grower and get your 3 to 7x return. So that's another exit strategy and another example of what's going on where we invest. And finally, the biggest thing that's happening in the Antelope Valley right now and beyond the Antelope Valley are solar farms. For those of you that can't quite make it out, all of those little black things you're looking at, those are tens of thousands of solar farms, solar panels, excuse me, tens of thousands of solar panels on acres and acres and acres of land. And the land in the Antelope Valley that's going for solar is disappearing at an alarming rate, mostly driven by SB 100, Senate Bill 100, which came into effect on January 1st, 2019, and requires the entire state of California to get all of its electricity for buildings and homes. Doesn't even count the electricity for the Teslas and the electric trucks. You know, Greg, that an electric truck, to recharge an electric truck, takes the same amount of electricity as to run a house for one full 24-hour period. That is an astronomical amount of energy. And look at all of the trucks that are going electric, particularly in the state of California, because Newsom signed a bill that says by 2035, it's all got to be electric. You can't, no new cars will be sold in California.
There's going to be a lot of the future for transport is really in hydrogen. So a lot of hydrogen projects in California.
Yes, that's happening too, and we're starting to see that. But solar far outstrips that at the current time.
Yeah.
And for the next few years, that'll most likely be the case. So all that empty land that you still see there in a few years, it's all going to be gone. It's all going to be solar, and some eventually is going towards hydrogen. All right, so that's a big thing. And then factor in electric cars and electric buses and electric trucks. Where's all that electricity going to come from? Nobody knows yet. All right. How do we find the land? So this goes to, I think it was Rodney who asked, the valuation of the land. How do I know? So couldn't join the round, but I have a question for Brad. How does one in due diligence phase compare comparables when it, okay. So Rodney, you're asking a great question. So, and this slide, I think will address both of your questions. So the due diligence on the land is done by our company, Valor. In other words, Valor looks at land. We have a checklist of these 16 points, and every piece of land that we look at has to get 16 yes check marks or we don't buy it. And by the way, when I say we, Valor buys the land first with its own money, and it's not going to buy a piece of land that's no good. So we do the due diligence. And by the way, we only buy 1 out of every 30 that we look at. So we reject 29 as not suitable for land banking. We buy the one, and then we make that one available to our investor. So we're doing a lot of the due diligence. The valuation is based on, it's not really comps, because you could have 2 pieces of land right next to each other, and they could be completely different in value, because one might have a buried gas tank from when it was a gas station 50 years ago, and that piece of land is worth nothing, and the piece next to it could be worth millions. So it's very hard, but we look around at what the current rate is, what else is selling. Obviously, you can just go to the assessor's office and you could look at sales of land. So we can kind of base the exit strategy for our clients, so we know what to value it at, so that they can get the 3 to 7x. So hopefully that answered Rodney's question. And if not, I'm sure he'll type in another question and ask me some more. All right. So we also do something called the 3-mile ring and the 10 growth factors, but we're not going to get into that today. I want to keep rocking and rolling here. So what else? So we find the land, make it available, and here, the biggest risk in land is not what you see on the surface, but what you do not see, what you cannot see. And here's an example. So the rectangle in the top left is a piece of land that we sold to a Valor client. And I think they paid about $150,000. Forgive me if my numbers are off, but this is just for an example. And they went online and they found this map, only the map they found did not have those dotted lines. I hope all of your viewers can see those dotted lines running through those 4 properties in the bottom left section. What would that be? That would be the southwest corner, the oblong. Their map didn't have those dotted lines. And they called Valor and they says, hey, wait a minute. I found a property that's right below the one that you sold me, and they only want 50,000 and you charge me 150. You guys are crooks. Well, the CEO brings out a map. We have maps, by the way. Valor owns maps that the city and county of LA don't even have. They're ancient. Some of them are in microfiche, and some of your listeners may know what that is, and I'm not going to explain it, but that back in, they're little pieces of plastic about this big that have thousands of points of information, and you put them on an overhead projector and you move it around, and that's how you would do your research. Back in high school, that's how I did my research. Anyway, CEO pulls out one of the maps, overlays it on this is called a plat map, and the person on the phone is looking at it, or not the phone, but they're on a Zoom, and says, wait a minute, my map doesn't have those dotted lines. What the heck are those? And the CEO explains to the person on the phone that's viewing this. He says, well, Mr. Investor, to whom we sold a valuable piece of property, those are easement lines. That is a utility easement that allows the utility company to build a road through the middle of the property, which renders it completely undevelopable for any other use. You want to buy the $50,000 property and own a $50,000 piece of dirt that you can never do anything with? Be my guest. And the person was so embarrassed. They apologized profusely. And they said, I'm sorry, I will never question you again. Hung up the phone. And that was the end of that. So we use these maps. In fact, back when I was showing this slide, you'll notice number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 all have to do with maps. And these are maps that no one else has that we use. That's why we reject 29 out of every 30 that we look at, because we're finding something wrong with them. All right. So that's why you have to beware. Here are some options for investing in land: cash, retirement accounts, tenants in common, certificates of disappointment is what we call number 5. So you got a CD at the bank and you're getting 1.5%, and inflation is 3.5%. You are losing buying power every day on that money. You can actually borrow from your retirement accounts. You can borrow from your life insurance. By the way, we don't recommend those because you're going to have to pay yourself back with interest. And that's line of credit. Same reason you don't want to be paying interest, because our hold period conservatively is 7 to 10 years. We tell people this has to be patient money. That's why most of my clients use retirement funds. They can't touch the money for 20 or 30 years anyway. Might as well diversify a little bit. But we tell people 7 to 10 years is an average hold period. And you're not going to see any money coming in. Well, can I get cash flow on my vacant land? No, don't be foolish. It's vacant land. It's just dirt. There's no cash flow. You do have county assessor tax, property tax. OG, I paid, I think, $95 on one of my properties for property tax because of Proposition 13 passed in 1978, retroactive to 1976, caps when when real estate exchanges hands and the new property is valuated at a higher price, they're limited at 1.3% of the valuation of the property. So let's say you buy the property for $100,000 and the assessor comes in, the most they can assess that land at is $1,300. However, since there's no buildings on it and it's dirt, they usually do about half. So maybe you'll pay on a $100,000 property, you might pay $500 the first year for taxes. And by the way, I'm just throwing some numbers out. These are not exact, just a ballpark to give you an idea. And because of Proposition 13, that tax of $500 the first year can only go up no more than 2% the next year. So that's $10. So the second year you pay 510, and the next year you pay $520.40 or something like that. So the amount of what's called your carrying costs, the amount that you're paying each year to hold on to the land, is extremely low. And so it's an excellent investment, especially in a retirement account, and it just sits there. And especially in a retirement account, if it's a regular IRA, it's called a self-directed IRA. It's tax deferred when you sell it. And if it's a self-directed Roth, have you had somebody on to talk about the difference between regular IRAs and Roth IRAs yet, Greg?
We have in other contexts, but not on my show. But many of the people that are involved know about those, and we'll talk
Okay,
about
great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tax deferred is the regular. Tax free, my wife and I, of those 11 properties that we own, 9 are in Roths, self-directed Roths, which means when we sell those properties and get our 3 to 7x, that's all our money. We don't have to pay Uncle Sam any of that. Zero, zilch, nada, goose egg, whatever other word you have for zero. Okay, so those are some options for investing. And I do pay referral fees. So let's say by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, our minimum investment is 25,000 up to 2 million. That's our range that we can help people. And I do pay referral fees. So maybe some of your listeners, some of your viewers, some of the people in your roundtable aren't ready to invest themselves, don't have the money right at the moment, but they know of people that they could refer to me. If they refer somebody to me and that friend, that referral buys, I pay 2% of the gross sales price. So let's use $100,000. It's a nice round number. Greg, you refer Joe to me. Joe buys a $100,000 property. You, Greg, will make $2,000 as a referral fee. And if Joe buys a second property, you, Greg, get a second check. You get paid on every purchase. It's not one. And thank you, Greg. Thanks for introducing me to Joe. He's my client now. I paid you $2,000. Have a nice day. No, Joe buys a second property. You get paid again. Ad infinitum, as long as I'm around on the planet. And then after me, Marcella will take care of you. Okay. And those are things that we look for. And I know, look at the fourth one down. I'm sick of tenants, toilets, and termites. Well, Greg told me about one of your viewers in the middle of the session.
He was on the show.
Oh, he was on the show, and a tree fell on one of his rentals. So I added another T. I'm sick of tenants, toilets, termites, and trees. So if you've got a rental and you're afraid a tree might fall on it, you might want to do a 1031 exchange.
Tornadoes are also another T.
Tornadoes, termites, and trouble, and taxes. I mean, we could do a whole thing. But I've had several clients that have gotten out of some of their rental properties because they were just sick of tenants, toilets, and termites. And they did a 1031 exchange, which means that they actually deferred their taxes, not avoided, but deferred the tax to some point down the road and didn't have to pay any tax at the time. And now they own land at a higher value. And in fact, one of them just got an offer for a 35-year lease on 30 acres for $3,500 per acre.
Yeah.
Now I can do the math real quick. 3,500 times 30 is 105,000 per year for 35 years. That's $3.5 million. And oh, did I forget to mention, we were coaching them. We give free coaching advice, free negotiation coaching. They're going to be asking for what's called an escalation clause. Usually it's 2.5% to 3% to cover inflation. So it'll be 105 the first year, but it'll go up 2.5% the next year. And then that new higher number will be 2.5%. So it's more than $3.5 million. And they paid $150,000 for the land that they're negotiating right now. So absolutely amazing. All right. Finally, my last slide. All a man, and I added, or woman, Douglas MacArthur's quote, all a man or woman has to do to become rich in America is find out where people are going, get there first, buy land while it's affordable, and then wait. And that is it. If you can, yeah, there we go.
There we go. I'm just going to say, I'm going to back that up. I know 3 families who have generational wealth one family in British Columbia bought all of the land they could between Vancouver and up to Powell River, up what they call the Sunshine Coast, right? And then they opened a real estate agency, and now they're in the third generation. And another family in Lynn Valley, North Vancouver, bought a whole pile of properties, and our family had a piece of property that they bought for $400 in the 40s, an acre. Now is probably worth, without any, now there's 6 houses on that, and each of those houses are probably have an average price of about 1.5 million. I made a joke earlier when as here said $500,000 buys a nice chicken coop in Vancouver, and like you can't buy a condo in Vancouver for 500,000.
Right.
Yeah. And also the other thing is I know where your dirt is because you know that Bonnie's dad lives out in the Mojave Desert. We would go shopping in Lancaster, go to Costco, and her rest of her family are in Burbank and Sunderland in the Los Angeles area. So we drove by those things like right beside Sam's property in the Mojave Desert is a gigantic solar farm. And then just down the road is a big marijuana grow up owned by Mike Tyson. And there's always stuff going up everywhere. So,
well, I go down to Lancaster. I didn't when COVID was around, but we would have the company headquarters is right near Lancaster. And well, no, I'm sorry. It's in Woodland Hills, which is about an hour away.
Yeah.
But we would go down for the annual meeting. And then the next day we would go what's called on tour. So Marcella, who at the time when I was doing this, I was just a client of hers. She was the land banker. I was a client, and my wife would come with me and maybe 4 or 5 other investors. She'd rent a big van and put, 10 of us, and we would drive around and we would look at everybody's property. We would go stand, we'd have our little phones with the GPS, and we would go stand in the middle of our dirt and just kind of look around. We'd take little baggies home and put labels on them. So we would, because dirt is gold. So we would bring it home. And every year that I went down, there was always more buildings, and they were getting closer and closer to my land. And it was like, okay, you got to just be patient. And it's just absolutely incredible what's going on. People say, oh, Lancaster, I was there 20 years ago. It's a little hick town. There's nothing there. Go now and look. You will be shocked.
It's quite a decent city, really.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
Rodney, I don't know if I put this question up before. Maybe he can explain how that's the valuation of that.
Well, every piece of land is different.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure. Does he mean how do we value the land in order to sell it to our clients?
I'm guessing that's what that is, and you can answer that because you use those 10. His other question was about the due diligence. The questions
about due diligence. Yeah, that's we have a research and acquisition department. Now they don't work on Saturday, but 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, the entire department, 5, 6, 7 employees, I don't know the exact number. All they do all day long is try to find vacant land that fits those 16 criteria points, and then negotiate with the owner to get that land from them. And I asked the CEO one day, I said, well, how did they find the land? Divorcing couples is a major source of finding the land. Because in California, as a community property state, let's say grandma 20 years ago, 30 years ago, bought land for $5,000. She's passed on. She gave the land to her son. Son is married to this woman. They're getting divorced. They have to either buy the other person out or sell the land and split the money 50-50 because it's community property.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's worth. We offer them something and they go, oh, no one else has approached us. And
sure. Yeah.
We get back what grandma paid. Okay, fine. Here's give us $5,000. And then we figure out the value of that land based on other projects that are going on, other sales that we've seen of like kind. So it has to be the same zone, solar to solar, residential to residential, industrial to industrial. We'll look at some, I don't like to call them comps, but it's similar to the way that a residential real estate agent figures out the value of a house. It's kind of like that, but not quite. And we don't have time to get into the details of it. And I don't really know the details. I don't really care. I know that we've got this department. They're highly trained. They work full time, and that's all they do all day. And they find land that is that fits those 16-point criteria, and then our investors buy that land from us.
Yeah, so you had the slide there of that property and with the easement through there.
Right.
Many of the people in our group are involved with mortgage notes, buying and selling mortgage notes. And one of the stories was, if a bank is selling a mortgage note for an insanely cheap value, there's maybe a reason for it, because like one of the things in the note space is, for whatever reason, the land cannot be foreclosed upon, right? So basically the note is worthless. The bank knows it's worthless, but they'll sell it to you.
Right. Well, a similar dirt story.
Yeah.
We've had people call us, call Valor, call me, call Marcella, and say, "Hi, can you help me?" Well, I don't know. What's your problem? Well, I bought this land from Company X, which, by the way, Company X, they're out of business. They were crooks. But we bought land from Company X. They told us it was fantastic. It's sort of on the east side of Palmdale. And already I'm going, I think I know where this is going. And they said, we've been trying to sell it and we can't because it's in something called an SEA. What's an SEA? Oh, well, that's a significant ecological area. Well, really, they didn't tell us that. Well, they don't have to, because land is buyer beware. In commercial real estate, it's different than residential real estate. Residential real estate, if there was a meth lab there or someone died, the agent has to disclose that to the buyer. You have to inform them or you get your butt sued. My understanding, and again, I'm not an attorney, so you better check this out yourself, but my understanding, in the commercial space, you don't have to divulge that information if you know it. So this company was selling land in a significant ecological area, which had a red-legged toad or a tortoise or some plant that only grows on that 1 acre. And that land can never, underline, never, ever be developed. You can't build on it. So they owned a $50,000 piece of dirt that they could go visit, and they could look at the little animal. They could go search out the salamander. Don't touch it because the feds will come after you. But
can they put a tent on it?
I doubt it. So you've got to be very, very, very careful when you buy land, that you're getting it from a reputable organization that has done the due diligence. And then we tell our clients, do the due diligence yourself. Go look it up yourself. Happy. We'll share everything with you and tell you how we've decided to buy this land. But every property that Valor buys with its money, because it may have to keep it for a while until we have an investor in that price range that wants it, we know it's a good piece of land. And it may turn out, and we don't do this, but it could turn out that the developer will call Valor before we've even sold it to an investor. In fact, actually, we had a property. We sold it to an investor. They had not even paid their deposit yet. And Valor got an offer on the land for many times the value that we were selling it. But we said, sorry, that land is being sold to our investor. You can contact them after it closes in 21 days. And we sold that land to the investor at the price that we gave it to them. And we told them, as soon as you're done, you need to contact this company because they want your land and they're going to pay you a lot of money, which we turned down. So very ethical company as well.
Great. So Dr. Ivan Torero is joining us. He's in Florida. Ivan asked in the chat before, you want to use flat properties. Well, I know the area, and other than the Sierras and the outside, the whole valley is pretty flat. I don't know if you can buy anything particularly contoured there, but anyway, do you have some questions, Ivan?
So the question is, the land banking with what you're looking to do is basically in flat areas versus a place like the Appalachian Mountains?
Absolutely. It's all as flat as you can get. It is level land. You saw that picture of the solar farm, right? I don't know if you were on, but you saw how that was miles and miles and miles of flat land. They can build solar farms on a little bit of graduated land. There's one spot that starts to go up the side of the mountain, but when it gets too steep, it's not feasible. It doesn't make economic sense to drive up there and do that. Plus, a lot of that land is protected. Like you've got the San Andreas Mountains.
Yeah.
And the Los Padres National Forest. You can't build anything inside that land. So everything in Lancaster and Palmdale is completely flat. It's like you can see for miles and miles. You saw it in the photo. That was miles till you hit those mountains. Wind farms a little different. Wind, they can go up a little bit because they're so far apart, and you want to get into that flow. And sometimes it's right alongside the mountain. And in fact, that picture that I showed you of that solar farm, some of you could have seen there were little white crosses in the background. That's a wind farm. And we've had a few of our clients exit to wind farms, but solar is by far and away the most land that we sell. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it answers the question. Yes.
Hey, thanks. What else you got for me, Greg?
Well, one of the reasons I invited you on is because in our roundtable discussions on Saturdays, we've had 2 or 3 discussions of mobile home parks and places. Ivan's got a bit of experience with that, and some people in Arizona. And I'm not sure where Steve Johnson is. He's in the Midwest, up by Illinois, I think. And so there is some interest, and it seemed to me that many of the properties that you have in the Lancaster area could be used for mobile home parks or self-storage units or any of those kinds of things. So that's one of the reasons I thought people in our little community would be interested in what you're doing.
That would now again, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure. Most likely, certainly a self-storage unit that would go in an industrial zone. Yeah. So the land would have to be zoned for industrial. But caution, we don't sell to developers. I'm prohibited from selling to developers. So if you want to develop the land yourself, don't tell me that. Keep it a secret. I'm serious. I had a client from, it was a Chinese lady. She was representing somebody from China with $1 million. I said, well, what does the person in China want to do? Oh, she wants to build her own stuff on the land. I said, I'm sorry, I cannot sell the land to her. We are trying to help average, I use my little air quote sign. We're trying to help average investors, mom and pop investors, not institutional investors. We're trying to help people that have 401ks and dormant IRAs and things like that buy land and build generational and legacy wealth themselves by selling their land to the developer. So if you have a mobile home park developer, yes, I could sell them a mobile home park designated piece of property, but they better not tell me that they're going to build the mobile home park, because that would be a no-no. I would have to turn them away if they told me that. Did that? I think that hopefully that answered the question. And yeah, I'm assuming mobile home park would be some kind of industrial. I don't think you could do a mobile home park in residential area, but again, that's a zoning question and that's above my pay grade. You would have to talk to the city planner of Lancaster and Palmdale to find that information out ahead of time. And we don't give legal advice. I lose my license if I give anything that even resembles legal advice. So consult an attorney, talk to the city the city planner, and find out where mobile homes are allowed to be built. And then that's the kind of land you would want to buy. Mm-hmm. But don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Yeah, it was painful to have to turn away $1 million potential client. Yeah. But we have very high ethical standards at our company. And I just said, next, go find somebody else.
So okay, here's the scenario, and this is just hypothetical. Okay. Say Ivan were to purchase a parcel of land that had the proper zoning, and then somebody else that he happens to know at arm's length just happened to want to build a mobile home park there. What's the process?
That is between the two of them. Once Ivan owns the land, it's his land. He gets a fee simple deed from the state of California. We, Valor, we're out of the picture. It's his land. He could go pitch a tent if the city council would let him. He can walk on his land. He could go dig holes. He could plant a tree. I don't know what he could do with the land, but if it's in a zoning for industrial, and his friend says, Ivan, I'd like to build a mobile home park, as long as it's zoned for mobile home park, they can work out whatever agreement they want. He could lease the land to the mobile home park guy. He could sell the land. He could go 50-50. It's up to them. Yeah. That's totally outside my wheelhouse. I have no advice to give about that. Yeah. But my understanding, it's his land. He can do whatever he wants with it. Sell it to whomever he wants. Keep it and just keep it dirt forever. Let his kids worry about it.
Yeah, it's a nice area to walk in the desert. Yeah. So I have lots of experience with that. I used to do around about an enormous solar farm, and if I wanted to do it, it's like 1.5 kilometers to walk around, or about a mile to walk around the whole thing.
Oh, they're huge, Greg. They're gigantic. They're just unbelievably large. 1,000 acres. Well, think about it. A square mile is called a section. Yeah. And a section has 640 acres. Yeah. Well, 1,000-acre solar farm is obviously bigger than a square mile. That's a mile by a mile.
Wow.
It's going to be bigger than that. It's unbelievable. If you go down there or see Google Earth, and by the way, when you do a Google Earth shot of the area it's called the Antelope Valley, Google is 3 to 4 to 5 years behind on updating its photos. So whatever you see, you could probably double that or triple that. That's what's really on the ground now. Wow. So it's much better to just go there. And when I go down there and look and drive around, it's like a sea it's like looking out at the ocean, and it's just solar panels after solar panel after solar panel, producing the electricity that I might very well be using right now here in my house in Northern California, because they just feed it in. They can't, they don't label the electrons. Oh, this one came from the Antelope Valley. No, it's electricity. It goes into the grid. People use it. Yeah. Just amazing what's going on. Oh, and in addition to the solar, now they're building what are called BESS, battery energy storage systems. Because what happens at night? No more sun, no more energy production, no more electricity production. So they store all of the excess electricity that's generated during the day, gets stored in these batteries, and they're the size of a house. Yeah. And there's 10 or 15 of them lined up together on 5 acres. So we've had some of our people exit to the battery energy storage builders, not the solar farm builders. Yeah. And they either leases are rare, but it's more likely the sale. And it's the size of a freaking house, and it's a battery. Yeah. I mean, Tesla's doing it. Look at what they're doing. They're ridiculous.
Yeah. More and more of those will go to hydrogen storage solutions.
Yep. That's coming too. A little further down the road from what I've read about hydrogen.
Everybody else other than North America is into hydrogen in a big way. We're kind of falling behind.
Yeah. But right now we're heavy into solar, and it's going to stay that, in my opinion, it's going to stay that way for at least another 5 to 10 years. Yeah. Hydrogen will take a while to catch up, but it most likely is coming as well.
Yeah. There are a few trucking companies in Southern California heavily invested in hydrogen, and they're building out the fueling stations, and they've been running pilot projects, but now they're expanding. They're doing it for real. So,
well, just get onto Google and Google EV charging stations in California and read all of the articles about the billions. This is billions with a B as in boy, billions of dollars that has been invested into building these charging stations all throughout the state. It is absolutely amazing. They're calling it the electric corridor or something from Tijuana all the way to Vancouver, up Highway 5. There are hundreds and hundreds. And then every one of these warehouses that they build in Lancaster has docking stations. And those docking stations are for the electric vehicles, the electric trucks. and they have to be charged while they're unloading so that they can get back to the port to pick up more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The whole electric thing is off the charts, and all we do all day is research. That's what research and acquisition department does, is they're reading these articles. Where is the future going? Where are the trends? That's what you want to follow. The money. Follow the money. It will not lead you astray.
So,
all right.
Ivan, do you have other questions or comments here?
I know we got to wrap up soon. I got another meeting to go to.
The only thing is that I should have held to that. I had 40 acres in Nevada, and I sold that about 4 years ago. I should have held on to it. So
It's patience, Ivan. It's patience. That what we say in Valor is the biggest enemy you have in investing in land is yourself. It's wanting to jump the gun and pull the trigger too soon. You've just got to wait, because eventually it's going to happen. By the way, Greg, one more thing before I have to go. Brad@bradwarren.com. If people on your show want to get a hold of me, people in your roundtable, that is the best way. Email, even on vacation, I respond to emails. Brad@bradwarren.com. Usually within 24 hours, I'll get back to you. And most likely we set up a Zoom because I want to meet you, talk to you. You can ask me more questions. And we educate first. In fact, you're not even allowed to buy land with us until you see Marcella's full 1-hour land banking presentation. Can't even buy. If somebody wanted to buy right now, they couldn't. You have to get educated first. We want to make sure that this is the right investment for you.
Yeah, I'll put your contact information in the chat after when we're done.
Great, thanks.
Because they somewhat kind of disappear. The ones that are in the middle of the of the broadcast don't show up after. So, but I'll add all of that.
Thank you.
And we've got an article. We've got some samples with you already on the notecenter.com. And I think I've got a couple of the new land things. I'll probably post one of those on that site too.
Okay.
I'm on your email list. Anyway, you got to go.
I got to go. I got 30 seconds to. I'm hosting a Zoom meeting, and I got to get over there.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Brad.
My pleasure. And I can click off. It doesn't have to upload.
No, you can just click off. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Greg. Ivan, nice to meet you. And bye, everybody. Bye, dirt. Bye, land, because they're not making any more of it. Bye.
There we go. Anyway, thanks. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.